Okay. So the light's a little bit weird because I just have the. Well, no, hang on. Wait a minute. I don't know why the hell I didn't think to open the blinds. Is it better with just the blinds? No. Okay. Okay. I don't like the blinds. Sorry. Okay. Got it. Okay. All right. So this is going to be about the narcissist and boundaries. And this is probably, no, it is the biggest feature that you have to focus on with dealing with a narcissist, because these people thrive on the fact that you can't say no to shit. So let's go back to the beginning. Your childhood is where you learned everything. That's where you learned everything. What was normal, what was acceptable, what was okay, what you should tolerate, what you're going to get in life. All that shit about what you think about yourself and about others and about the world at large, you learned when you were 5 years old or 10, whatever. You learned in your early years. So whatever you were getting at home was, it sank into your brain and into your psyche and into your fibers as normal and acceptable. And that is good and bad stuff. It doesn't matter what it was. That's why you see so many people who grow up in kind of shitty home settings, and then as they get older, they make kind of poor choices because that's what they're used to. They are accustomed to a certain environment and a certain way of things being, and they think that's what they deserve, and they think that's what their life is supposed to be like, and they just kind of stick with it. And everyone on the planet, just about everyone, does this. Humans are creatures of habit, and what we learn, we stick with. It's just something we do. So you gotta be real careful with what you learn. So what we're gonna do is go back to your childhood and say, okay, what the hell happened to me? Everyone feels that way, and that's normal. And the fact that you even start with that question is huge, because you have to. You have to start with that question. What the hell happened? Because you have to investigate, or you're never going to understand yourself. So you go back to your childhood and you look at it and you say, okay, I don't know how to say no to people. I don't know how to stand my ground. I don't know how to protect myself, protect my energy. I don't know how to, keep people at arm's length if I don't want them, or if I don't like them, or if somebody creeps me out. I don't know how to say no in whatever fashion that means to you. So one of my favorites, especially for women, but this happens to little boys too, but especially for girls, because girls are supposed to be what everyone wants, no matter where they are and shit like that. So our job is to just be what's needed in the moment, no matter who's demanding what. So so for girls especially, they will hear, go ahead, hug him. Go ahead. Okay. Give him a fucking hug. Do it. And especially if your parents, especially if your father is a bit domineering and aggressive, you're gonna get your ass whooped if you don't do it. So it's like now you're hugging somebody, you're having to hug somebody that creeps you out, or someone you don't like. Your chest is touching theirs, and you don't want that shit. And the little girl doesn't want that, but she was made to do it. God damn it, hug him, or I'm gonna fucking spank the shit out of you later. It's just, and a lot of us hear that kind of talk and get that kind of treatment, and no one says anything about that. So you've got kids who are taught that they can't say no about shit. When I was like 12 or 13, it got really bad with getting the attention that I got from men really skyrocketed, and I couldn't go anywhere by myself or anything like that. That all came to a screeching halt. And at the same time, I had like a whole variety of weirdos, coming after me and keeping an eye on me and asking me weird questions and shit like that. And there was even a boy at school who no one really talked to because the poor kid was so fucking creepy. He wasn't a bad kid. He had decent behavior. He had good behavior. He never gave anybody any problems. He was never rude to anybody. Nothing like that. He was not a bad kid. But he was just creepy as hell. And nobody knew what to say to him or what to do with him, really, because nobody could relate to the poor kid. And he was just real, awkward. And I was kind to him, on the occasion that we interacted, because I didn't have anything against him because he'd never done anything to me. So I was nice to him. But I was hearing through the grapevine that this kid was obsessed with me. And I was like, oh my God, no. Like, no, please. But he never bothered me. There was no issue. So I wasn't entirely sure if I was supposed to even, if I should have even believed it, because he didn't bug the hell out of me. It wasn't like that. So I just continued to be friendly with him, and we didn't ever have any problems, ever. That kid wasn't mean or bothersome to anybody. And so I thought he was okay, other than being a little bit unusual. I thought I was unusual, and then I got around him and I was like, oh damn, I'm fine. Okay. But anyway, so one time at a school dance, he was there. He was always there. But me and a friend of mine, or maybe a couple of friends, were talking to my mom because she was there. We were like 12 or 13, no older than that. And we were just standing around talking to my mother, and we told her, I don't know if that kid was like watching me from far away or what, but for some reason the topic of him entered the conversation. And my friends, while I was standing there, told my mother that the kid was hooked on me. And she said, why can't you just be his girlfriend? What? Like, who says that? Why can't you just be? What? So that kind of shit starts pretty early. And that was like a tattoo on my heart, because what happened was that mentality got programmed in. I still thought she was nuts for saying that. I just thought, what? Like, because that doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense. Why the hell can't you just be nice and be his girlfriend? That's so. So, I was like, Lamau, I'm not gonna do that. And she thought me cold-hearted. So I never ended up being the kid's girlfriend. I never got to know him any more than I did at that time. And then we both split and probably went to separate high schools. I have no idea. But I mean, that was it. There was nothing there. So anyway, that mentality of, why can't you just be his girlfriend? Even though in that moment I said, the fuck? Because that was my initial reaction, was, what in the hell do you mean? That seed still got planted. It still got planted in my brain. That, why can't you just be nice and give him what he wants? And every little girl is told this shit at some point. I don't care who you are. you're told at some point, why can't you just give him what he wants? What's wrong with you? Well, shit. You know, like, so, because this idea that we're supposed to be what each person wants all the time. Each person that comes along, we're supposed to just be what they want. Let me morph and be what you need. Shit. So you've got, you know, however many thousands of years of that instilled into your fibers. That's why women feel so bad about every fucking thing they do. Oh, well, I should have done more. I should have been more blah, 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 blah. I should have. I'm such a bad person. You're not a bad person just because you're not somebody's fucking slave. So stop. But anyway, why can't you just be his girlfriend mentality got planted in there. Whoops, sorry. Whether I wanted it to or not. And as I got older, I was, I took boyfriends I didn't fucking want because I thought, if I don't give him a chance, I'm a shallow bitch. And everyone's going to talk about it. And that was really, really and truly what I thought. And I did that up through my 30s. I'm 35 now, but I mean, you know, I did that up until like a few years ago. And then finally I quit doing it. Because I thought, why am I even doing this? I kind of feel that way when I'm dating anyway, but eventually I just stop. But, why am I doing this? What is this? But, especially with that, you know, but I can tell you I can see all their faces. I had a handful of boyfriends who I gave the time of day just because I thought, if I don't do this, I'm cruel. If I say no, I'm cruel. And I'm cold-hearted. I'm a stone-cold bitch if I'm not his girlfriend. So I gotta give this guy a few months of my life. Otherwise, I'm the devil. You know, and there's so much of shit like that. And it doesn't have to be, and your boundary issue does not have to be that at all. It can be something totally different from what I'm describing. I'm just saying that was one of mine, for example. Your boundary issue could be anything. It could be anything you were taught when you were little that you couldn't say no to. You know, anything. Just being somebody's friend, or wearing something everybody's gonna like, or doing something, having to do something you want to do because everybody's gonna like it. You know, making you perform for the family at a get together, or because then you think you can't say no to performances, and then all of a sudden you're an overachiever, you know, or anything like that. Any time where you were told you weren't going to get out of something because, you know, it didn't feel right to you, and you were going to do it come hell or glory. And that kind of shit, making a child, someone so innocent and pure and beautiful, and you're going to make them do some shit that they don't feel good about. How can you do that? How do people do that? How do you look at a kid and their purity and their beauty and just say, well, to hell with what you want. Fuck all that noise. Suit up and go fucking do it before I beat your ass. You know, like, fuck you. So there's a lot of that. And when you grow up, then you see those same people grow up and their lives are just, they might be, you know, quote unquote successful in one way or another, you know, however you want to define that, because it's different for everybody, but they might have a lot of money. They might have their own house. They might have a really good spouse and 3 beautiful kids that are real smart. They might, whatever it is you want to, you know, they'll have all that, but something's still wrong on the inside. And it's not worth it. To hell with all that. I mean, if they're still miserable with themselves, you know, who cares about the outside shit? It means nothing. So there's a lot of people who are overachievers as adults, or don't know how to say no to somebody, or they're constantly giving, and that's usually what it is for women. Give. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. And a lot of them do all that thinking, that that's their plight and that it's never going to change or get any better, and that that's their role in the world is to be in servitude to everybody that crosses their path, whether they know them or not, and that they owe the world, and that they owe people, and that they owe the human race, and or some of them will even get bitter about it because you can only stand that shit for so long. And then some of them will get kind of bitter about it and think to themselves, you know what, damn it, I'm going to do this, but goddamn, I'm going to get something in return one day. All this shit better come back to me one day. I'll fucking do it, but I better see it come back to me. And then you get like real angry women who get to that point, because they can't stand it any longer. When really, you just fucking say no. Be a bitch and say no. Just say no. And we can't do that because we're so ingrained to believe that if we say no, we're heartless and we're ruining everything for everybody. Because women know deep down we're responsible for everybody's well-being. We're responsible for everybody's damn survival. Period. People aren't going to eat or have clean damn clothes unless we're there. So, it's just, if it's just period. So with that being the case, we know that if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing for everybody, it's just going to take a nosedive. Civilization itself would just come apart at the seams if we quit doing our job. That being the case, there's a lot of pressure to be what everybody needs and to be what everybody needs all the time, and that there is no clocking out, which there's not. Women don't clock out of their jobs until they die. You do your job until you die, and it doesn't get a paycheck. You're the apothecary, you're the home doctor, you're the massage therapist, you're the homework queen, the housemaid, the cook, the servant, the fucking therapist, the everything. You do all those jobs, and you're never taught that it's okay to take a fucking break. That's why you see so many women now, especially online, they'll just post and say, you know what, I'm gonna take a damn break today. I'm gonna have a few hours where I just don't do anything, and that's seen as real revolutionary. That's seen as a real rebellion, and that shows you how behind we are in this country. The United States is behind culturally, but we don't realize it. We think we're ahead of the curve. We're not ahead of fuck. We're not ahead of shit. But as long as we're sitting here in our own little bubble, just watching fucking Fox News, we're not going to know anything anyway, so whatever. But I can't get into that. We'll be here all day. So I'm trying to stay on topic, but my point is, when you don't know how to say no to shit, and then all of a sudden you do decide to say no to something, the tsunami of guilt just knocks you down, but you feel like you're not doing the right thing and you're doing something wrong, and that you're betraying everybody because you have decided to either give yourself a break or say no to something that you just don't feel good about. You cannot be in alignment with everything with shit that you don't want to do. It's bad for you to do that, that's the self-betrayal thing. That's dangerous because you destroy yourself with that. That's one of those self-sabotaging things people are talking about so much, is the self-betrayal with the no boundaries thing. Okay, so let's get to the narcissistic part. All right, now, the narcissist, as we know, loves anybody who can't say no, obviously, because it puts them in charge of everything. And even if you do want to say no to something, I had one of them, the biggest one who really did the most damage to me. The old me would have tagged him in every fucking thing I post. The old me would have tagged him in everything, but I'm not going to do that. But I can see his face in my mind. And apparently I have 1 or 2 mutuals with him on Facebook, which I did not know. But I think I blocked him after that anyway, to be honest. But anyway. So, but that was like almost a year that I fooled with him. And it feels like it was a lot longer than that, but it was only a year. And in that time, I tried to break up with him a handful of times. a handful of times. It's never been that bad with anybody else. I had others that were kind of rough, but he was the roughest. And there was just a few times I tried to get rid of him, and my old story that I used to tell myself was that he wouldn't let me. Yeah, but no. And I'm going to tell you why. Yes, because that was his behavior, and that part was accurate. He wasn't letting me do shit. So that I was right in saying that part, but it was also wrong because it wasn't all him. Half of it was him, half of it was me. And I allowed that shit to continue because I thought that being shit on and pissed on was just par for the course, and that's just how things were going to be with men. And too bad, and it's c'est la vie, and that's not true, but that was my story I told myself at the time, which is why I let that shit continue, because I kept telling myself the same old bullshit instead of looking at it from a different point of view. You can change the facts about your story. You can change the facts. Well, such and such, this and this, blah, blah, happened to me, and that's why I am the way I am. And you can get by with that for a little while, but once, some years go by, you start getting, you'll get to a point where you start getting tired of hearing yourself say that. And you'll get to a point where you don't want to say that anymore, and you want to have a better answer. And that's when you start really soul searching, is when you get tired of it. I'm telling you, any time that you do any kind of self-exploration or whatever the hell, that need or desire to do that comes from you being a place of being fed up. And you've had all you can take of it, and you're done with it, and you're tired of it. You're just tired of it, that's all. But you have to get to that point where you're tired of it before anything changes. You gotta get tired of not being allowed to have boundaries. Before you can start putting your foot down and being a bitch about everything. So with this guy, when I used to say, he wouldn't let me break up with him. Yes, because that was his behavior, but also no, because I let it slide. I let all that shit slide. I let it slide. And I let it slide because I thought, well, this is it. It's not it. There's 7 billion people on this fucking planet. How is that it? So you have to change what you tell yourself about yourself and about the world, and give yourself a chance to see something differently for a change before that differently can step in. You have to create the space for it. You have to, take the form of the masculine divine for a second there, and create the safe space for the better energy to come in. And then the better energy being what you really want. You know what I mean? But the masculine divine part, as I said, is that's the part of you that creates a safe space for something to come in and be there and thrive. So sometimes you have to let that part of you kick in so that you can get what you want. And then the feminine divine is the receptive part of you that's open to anything, open to any good thing that could come your way. So that's how those two work together. For example, I'm going to do a course that focuses on that later on. So, because I think that's would really put things in perspective for people, and it's helped me a lot. So I think I want to do something big on that later. But anyway, so with a narcissist, because they do so well with people who don't know how to say no, you just have to ask yourself, if that person's still in your life and still bossing you around and making you feel like shit, you have to ask yourself, is it worth sticking around? Number one, is it worth sticking around? What are you getting out of this person that merits being this miserable? Is it worth it? What can you do if you decide it's not worth it and you want to get away from this person and you don't have the option financially or otherwise? You have to start brainstorming. For your own mental health, I'd say start brainstorming as soon as possible on how you can get out of there and just rebuild your life. Just rebuild completely. You're going to have to, because your mental health, or what's left of it after dealing with a narcissist, the final shreds of it that you have to rebuild. Yeah, that the need and the necessity to protect that ought to be drive enough and motivation enough to help you get out of there. And if you keep saying, well, I can't because of this, I can't because of that, then you just haven't reached rock bottom yet, I suppose, because that's going to be what it takes. You're going to have to reach a point where you can't take anymore, and you say, damn it, this has to change, and it's got to change now. And that's when that's when you go into overdrive, and you just switch gears completely, and you go into overdrive and say, okay, now what can I do? What can I do? And you just start digging for answers. And you go to whoever you can go to. You start making phone calls. You get in touch with people. You come up with a backup plan for money. Take out a loan if you have to get somewhere, get a car, whatever, get out of there, and it's just a matter of reaching rock bottom. But until you can get to that point, if you're still living with this person or still dealing with this person on a regular basis, you have to remember that, number one, you're better off than they are, because you don't need to suck somebody's blood to survive. They do. They don't do well if they don't have a source to go to for, all their needs. At the top of the list being, feeling powerful and shit like that. They need to feel powerful, and they need to feel grandiose and shit like that. And they can't do that if nobody's there to worship them or follow their every command. So you're already in a higher position of power anyway, because you don't even need that shit. That's not even how you operate. Because you're normal. So you really you already have the upper hand, because you're not so heavily reliant on other people to fucking worship you for you to live normally. But on top of that, this is a lesson for you to learn. Your lesson won't be as hard as theirs will be, because because of how screwed up they are, they have to lose a lot more before they realize what's wrong with them and that they have to change, if they can change. You won't have that kind of a lesson because you're realizing things now. So no matter how bad it gets for you, one day just keep in mind it's going to be worse for them. And I have seen that firsthand. I had a narcissist who did some shit. Well, come to find out later on, he got really sick. And that's all I'm going to say. But I mean, well, yeah, for lack of a better way of putting it, he got what was coming to him. Because he brought that shit on himself. After all he did, and not just to me, but to some other girls, because he told me some stories. He brought that on himself. So they will ruin themselves eventually, in one way or another. Not that he ruined himself by bringing a disease on it, but I just mean it's going to even out one day. So don't worry about, because it's easy to get mad about thinking, oh, well, so-and-so's never going to pay for this. They never seem to pay for their bad behavior. They never seem to pay for how bad they treat people. Why is it always like this, blah, blah. No, they'll get theirs. They will. It just might take a little while, but they will. Just trust me. But anyway, so in your case, if you're trying to, if you have to exercise a bit of mind over matter when it comes to this shit, it's a matter of pushing right through the fear. You just push right through it. And I know that's hard. I would never tell you something not knowing what it's like. I wouldn't sit here and be like, oh, well, you just have to blah, blah, and then not know the struggle of it. I do know. But you just have to push through the fear. And the rage and the being fed up is going to be your drive that's going to push you right through it. Because there were times when I was in such a rage that I didn't care what the repercussions were. And I just like yelled my demands and yelled that I was not going to take it anymore and shit like that. And eventually I got rid of them after enough of that. But you just have to get to that point where you just say, "Now to hell with it, I fear nothing." You push through the fear, and then you realize you've got nothing to lose. And then once you get to the point where you've got nothing to lose, just like anybody else in history, you're unstoppable because you don't fucking care. You don't even care. So you just have to, people say you got to summon the courage or whatever, but I mean, yeah, you got to summon the courage, because you got to ask yourself, is your life worth making the change? Is your life worth standing up to this clown? Because they're going to eat you alive as long as they can, And the reason they're doing it is because you're letting them, because you think that is the vibe that is meant for you in your life. And it's not. It's not meant for you. It's meant for you to learn a lesson from it, but it's not meant for you to be stuck with it, which is why you're getting fed up with it and realizing things, which is why you're doing the soul searching you're doing, which is why you're watching this video. There's a reason behind all that. You're on the right path. You're doing the right thing. You're going in the right direction. It's just everybody's on their own level and having to take steps at their own pace, and that's it. But you're going in the right direction. You just have to stand up to them, and even stand up to them in little ways. If you want to start out little, if they're not satisfied with something, or they ignore your efforts or whatever, you just tell them whatever you want to tell them. Say, well, fuck if I do that again, or whatever. I don't know if this a situation, what you cooked wasn't good enough. Bringing them something when they were at work because they forgot it at home, that was a thankless job. Doing something for their children when they weren't even your kids, not getting a thank you or anything like that. Shit like that. You can, well, I don't want to put the kids at risk by saying, oh, well, don't take care of him anymore and really put him in his place. But, just shit like that where you do things and it's never enough. Just quit fucking doing it. Just, if you want to quit doing it, quit doing it. And with any luck, they'll get fed up and just leave. Don't worry about the money. You'll figure the money out. Because there's so many women that are stuck because they don't have enough money to live on their own. And all of that can sort itself out. But you have to take the first step, which is to push through that fear and just stand up to that son of a bitch. You just gotta push yourself. The only way to advance to the next level in your life, and the only way to be able to see yourself at your next level, at your new stage, in your new chapter, is to push. You're not going to be able, the longer you sit there and let him push you around like that, and let him make you feel like shit like that, and make you feel like you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't speak up and you can't. The longer that continues, the more you're going to lose your mind. There's a lot of women who try to kill themselves when they get like that, or try to kill him, whatever. And you don't need the problems from either of those situations. You don't need either of that. So we gotta get you right and make sure you don't do anything stupid in a blind rage. And sit that person down and tell them what the rules are and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Or if it's the situation's different, if you don't want to do that, or that's you'd rather skip that, you can do the kind of shit I've done where you just left in the dark of night when they either weren't there or whatever, or wait till they're at work or something, and pack your shit and go. If you have a friend you can go stay with, if you want to go to a women's shelter till you figure things out, I don't care. Go wherever you want to go. But if it's like that, just get out of there. And you can learn about your boundaries on your own, because you're going to sit there and think about it for a long time, because you've got so much shit to sort out in your brain about what happened, about the things that you let slide, because you were taught to let people do what they want to you. And you were especially taught to let men do what they want to you. And so now you've got a string of shitty ass boyfriends and you don't know what's wrong. You were taught to let them take charge. And now you're miserable because you haven't been true to yourself. You've been true to them. You did what they wanted instead of what the hell you wanted. You don't even know what you want because you've been so ingrained to be what everybody else fucking wants. You need your boundaries. You are a human fucking being and you need your damn boundaries. I'm looking at Facebook and Instagram, so I got both of you here. But I mean, you know, it's not fair to yourself. That kind of betrayal, that kind of self-betrayal, the sin against the self is the biggest sin you can commit. Destroying yourself? What for? What for? And that's just you. You know, what if you've got children who need you, and especially if you are the better parent, which let's assume you are, your children need you to set the right example, which you can do. You are capable of doing. You just need to be in a better environment. The feminine divine needs a safe environment to do its job. Period. End of. It needs a safe space to do what it's going to do. Women can't do what they are meant to do in this world if they're getting beaten and screamed at and yelled at and slapped around and shit like that, and having to worry at night about somebody coming through the window and all this kind of shit. They can't do their job if they're having to worry about that too. That is someone else's job to prevent all that. She's not meant to play both parts. Period. So now, and a lot of times with the narcissistic partners, you've got women who, because they're afraid to walk away, they're afraid they can't leave for one reason or another, they'll build up to it, they'll build their armor, you know, and have the thick skin and everything, and they'll argue with the narcissistic partner like a man, you know, and yell and throw shit or throw hands, whatever, you know. Some women do swing, I guess, and they just, you know, say to hell with it. If I die, I die. You know, and there are some women that think that way because they're at their wits' end and they can't take it anymore. And they think, well, being a woman isn't helping me. I guess I'll just be a fucking man. And that's the situation we're in this world today, by the way. But that's a whole other fucking thing. We'll get to that some other time. But, you know, and you'll have women who argue with the male partner, you know, especially if he's narcissistic, because they push you, those partners will push you until you're about to lose your mind. And the only way to, like, even, I don't want to say even the score, but, like, for lack of a better way to put it, the only way to, like, you know, even it out is to meet them halfway and be a man yourself and yell right back and just put your chest to theirs and say, well, fucking do it, you know. And there's a lot of women that do that. Because they can't take anymore. And they just think, well, hell, being me isn't enough. I'll just be you. You know, and especially after Women's Lib, that really added fuel to that fire. But that's, like I say, we'll get into that some other time. But that's actually a really good topic. So there's a lot of times when you'll find yourself having a screaming match, you know, with a narcissist because you're trying to meet them halfway because you're so tired of being the only one. You're so tired of being shit on, and then you just start doing what they do just to get them back, just to show them that you've had enough and you're not afraid anymore and you don't have anything to lose and you really don't fucking care what happens next. So you shouldn't have to live that way, and you shouldn't have to be in that kind of environment. And if it's getting that bad, I say get out of there. Pack your shit and just find some place to go. You gotta take your children with you? Pack their shit. Just go. You got a car that's in your name and that you have, get in the car and just go. You gotta go to a women's shelter? Go. You gotta go to a cousin's house, a friend's house? Go. I mean, do something. But, you know, especially if it's getting to be kind of a dangerous environment, there's no reason for you to stay there until you get the hell beat out of you. You know, what's the point? unless it would help getting him jail time. But I don't know. I'm not going to advise that. There are some women that do. They'll wait until they get hit and then they get him in jail and then they get a break. So, but I'm not, I don't, that's not how I would do that, but it has been done that way. But I'll tell you, these people, they thrive on you not knowing how to say no. And when you start saying no, you start realizing and teaching yourself what you'll stand for and what you'll accept and what you won't, obviously, and what your values are and what's important to you and what you expect from life and what you expect from the world. Saying no to shit you don't want will teach you where you are with all that. And there was something else that was really good I was going to touch on. But anyway, the narcissist, and then they have the nerve to act surprised when you start, putting your foot down and everything. And some of them are weak, and they won't stand there and swing at you or anything like that. They'll just kind of like hang their head. I had one of them that was like, did that thing where the voice goes down like 3 octaves, and all of a sudden he's the calm, cool, collected one, and you're the crazy one who's yelling and stuff like that because you can't take anymore. And then, but there won't be an apology. There's no apology, and if there is, it's probably fake. But there won't be an apology per se, but it'll be like, kind of like resolve maybe, or like, they don't, like maybe they're kind of checking out a little bit, but that's to keep you on your toes. Let's just keep you on your toes. And that has to do with boundaries as well, because you can just say, well, fine, fuck it, go. Whatever, go. I mean, to be honest, I could talk all day about this, so it's hard to like narrow it down in just a few details, but self-respect is going to be, that's what I was going to talk about, self-respect. That is going to be your first big step, your first huge step, because people will tell you all the time, and especially people, in this boom of attention being given to mental health issues lately, there's a real rise in people saying, oh, well, you just gotta love yourself. You just gotta love yourself. You just gotta love yourself. And everybody says, well, how the hell do I do that? Because because you're talking to people who have hated themselves their whole lives because they were taught to as a child, and they never got better because no one thought enough of them to help them investigate or find any fucking answers. So you've got people who have hated themselves for 20 or 30 or 40 years. And you look at them and say, oh, you just gotta love yourself. So loving the self is such a huge ocean to cross that you can't just simplify that and look at somebody and be like, oh, well, you just gotta, because it's not easy. There's nothing easy about that. There's nothing easy about that. I don't care what you say or who you are, who you talk to. It feels like somebody's telling you to throw a football across 3 football fields. It's just how. So for me, I would say my advice would be to start with a little bit of self-respect and little steps, little ass choices that you make every day to demonstrate some self-respect towards yourself. Just a little bit here and there, just to show yourself what you can do. Show yourself what your options are. And your options are whatever you want them to be. You can create that, but you got to start doing it. You just got to start doing it. People sit forever in their own cesspool of misery and disempowerment and shit like that. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, I can't because blah blah. Well, I can't because blah blah. Well, that's not how I operate. Well, that's just not my approach. Like, well, it might be time to just change your damn approach. You have to summon the willpower. Unfortunately, you're just gonna have to summon the willpower to say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. Have you had enough of the bullshit? Have you had enough? Yes or no? There's no gray area there. It's either you're tired of it or you're not. So you take little last steps each day, however you want, to get yourself ahead and get yourself programmed to see that you can have self-respect and that you can do the shit you want to do and that you can make your own decisions for yourself and that nobody else can push you around anymore and that you don't have to live the way you live and you're not stuck living the way you live in. No one is stuck. You can do what you want to do with your life. The universe and the world and whatever else, all of those entities are just like waiting for you to decide what you deserve. Because it's going to deliver. And I have to tell myself this all the time. I have to remind myself all the time. I'm no damn guru that has it all figured out. I'm not, Sadhguru or whatever the fuck. I don't, like, I'm not out there with the dreads and, live in the woods, doing yoga postures somebody else can do. I'm not there. But I can tell you that the practice that I've done on myself has worked, and that I get up in the morning and I say, okay, what am I going to do with my day? How do I want the day to go? What am I going to do with today? What am I going to accomplish? And what do I want to receive today? And shit like that. And you just pick a concept. Like, say, what do I want to accomplish today? Or how do I want to be today? You can just say, how do I want to be? And then say, I want to be self-respectful. And like I say, one step at a time, everything you do, you just do it out of self-respect and self-reverence. And then once you start doing that, the whole world changes around you. It just changes because you don't see it anymore. You see yourself, you no longer see yourself as being stuck. Because you're not. Because you can make a choice and just do what you want for yourself. So that would probably have to be its own video all on its own. But so I might do that later. I don't know yet. But yeah, and standing your ground with somebody. Because like I say, women especially are taught that not to argue. They're taught not to argue in general. but more to the point, they're taught, of course, not to argue with men, either because the man knows better or because you can get hit if you do. And we're aware of that. We're aware of the possibility of having to get our jaw rewired if we say the wrong thing. And that's an everyday occurrence, especially in this country. That our cousins across the way, they don't realize this, but American men are rough. And they've quit fighting each other. They just fight women now. But, they're rough when they do. And, I can't do anything about that. There's not shit I can do about that. Nothing. But, except to try to carry myself the way I want to be seen and try to set a good example, and that's all I can do. That's all any of us can do. But you have to remember that because we're taught that men are more powerful than us and that they can do more and that they've got more control in the world and in life. They act that way, but whether or not it's really true is going to be up to you, because you're deciding whether or not you're going to be under his thumb. That's up to you. I chose to let that boyfriend not let me break up with him several times before I finally said, you know what? I just don't want you to be my slave master anymore. That's all. I'm just not going to do this anymore. And that was hell trying to get rid of him. It was hell. I went to the courthouse and everything. It was, but eventually I got rid of him. Eventually he gave up and went away. The narcissist can't, they're a tick, they suck your blood, but they can't do it forever. Because once you turn that tap off, Once you turn that faucet off, that's it. They're going to eventually get bored, and they'll get bored and they'll lose interest, and then they'll have to go find somebody else. They'll have to, because their way of surviving and getting through the world, getting through life, is to find a source, or what's a supply. Supply is the word you hear a lot. They got to go find a fresh supply, because they got to find somebody who will worship them and keep pouring gas into their engine, into the tank. And if you quit doing that, well, damn it, they're going to get it somewhere, so they got to get up and go eventually. They'll have to, for their own peace of mind. So once you do the cutoff, it will fizzle out after that. It will. You just got to do your thing. You've been patient all this time with this asshole sticking around. You can be patient for a little bit longer while he fizzles out and loses interest and goes elsewhere. You can get through that last stage, because you've already done all the rest of it. So don't underestimate yourself. If you chose to let him stick around that long to do all that to you, you can choose to be patient while he's, melting away like the Wicked Witch of the West. Because he's going to have to. So don't let that last stage, if you have to go to the courthouse and you have to go to the police and you have to blah, blah, and it starts getting like that, don't let that stage scare you. Don't let it scare you. Because first of all, like I said, look at everything else you've been through with him. And you're going to let the biggest part of it, the part where you take a stand for yourself, scare you? No. So, but like I say, it's just a matter of thinking to yourself, how much do I really have to lose? And does it matter? Because women are taught that men can swoop in, or will swoop in and save them and start paying all their bills. And if he leaves, that's you out on your ass, in the snow, alone, nothing but Victorian rags. And, your life's just going to be upside down because that man left you. And we're taught that, but that's not accurate. And because that's what we're still taught. Well, if he leaves you, your life's going to be turned upside down. No, his life's going to be turned upside down because he's going to lose his fucking maid. Number one, he'll never have clean underwear again. So fuck that. But secondly, and I don't hate men. I don't. I quit hating men by the time I was 30, I finally quit hating them. I think I finally quit hating them by the time I was in my early 30s. But, we can't sugarcoat this shit any longer. We can't fuck around and pretend, that this isn't what happens. So, I lost my train of thought. What I'm trying to say is, you get to a point where you realize you don't have anything to lose. And then once it's all over, you realize you've got a clean slate to start from, and you can restart however you want. You can restart your life however you want. A lot of people don't know anybody and they restart their life. And it just, it's different for everybody, but don't ever think that just because you're losing one person that you're losing everything, because that's not how it works. You invest in yourself. Actually, somebody said something that I liked, that I loved the other night. I did a podcast with the Reverend Patience Carr, and we were talking about this kind of stuff, and I said that people put all their eggs in one basket like that, and then it all goes downhill, and you think you've lost everything, and she followed up with, you need to be your own basket. And I was like, yeah. So I thought that was really, I liked that, because it was simple, but it was profound. So I say be your own basket, that's, yeah. And, because like I say, women are taught that, if you just find the right man, everything's going to be okay. You just got to find the right man. You'll be fine. Just got to find the right man. That's not it. You shouldn't have to gauge your life on whether or not you've got the right man. So that's, no. But that's what we're taught, to rely so heavily on them for survival and shit like that. And that's so disempowering. So even after all the women's so-called liberation, we're still sitting here thinking, how do I get him to help me? And it's just, and that kind of thing just kind of pushes you to where you go inward and you become a bit more independent. And that's kind of how it happens sometimes, especially with a narcissist, because they will, they sometimes can present themselves as being your savior. Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna, I'm gonna take care of all that, blah, blah. And before you know it, you make one little mistake, you miss one little step, and then it's, oh, well, I could just, in one wave of my wand to take all this away. And I've been told that. I have been told that. I'll never forget it. Well, fine. But if I go, I'm taking all this shit with me. And he actually gestured towards a handful of fucking mildly vintage furniture, not good furniture, just like some stuff from somebody's fucking storage unit in fucking Pungo, or wherever the fuck we were that night. Sandbridge or something. That we had found on OfferUp. It was like $200 for a quote-unquote bedroom suite. And he had pushed himself into our house and was living in my bedroom with me. And I had to move all my furniture elsewhere. I don't know where I put it. I guess in the garage. And he, gestured towards all that furniture and was like, well, if I leave, goddamn it, I'm taking this fucking furniture with me. I said, goddamn, take it. Take it. Shit. Well, you think I didn't have furniture before you got here? What the fuck? So, I guess he figured I didn't have a vagina before he got there either. But, probably figures he gave me everything I had. Shit. So, but that's how they do. Well, fine, I'm taking this. I'm not paying for another goddamn thing. Okay, well then don't. I've been poor in the past, so that doesn't bother. So somebody threatening to take money from me doesn't scare me, because I've seen worse. I don't give a fuck. You don't want to pay my phone bill? Okay. Huh. I can get $40. I can shit $40. Fuck out of here. So, I mean, sometimes they'll get around women like me, and then who have had, years of training, and then they'll pop up, one of them, like a new one will pop up and be like, oh, well, I'm going to blah, blah, blah for you. I'm going to do all this for you. Doesn't it sound exciting? Let's get together. And all I can think is, you really think that I'm dumb enough at this point, after all I've been through, because I've seen your kind before, and you really think, getting my vibe, getting my hardcore independent vibe that I know you're getting from me, do you think you're gonna, undo that? So it's just really dumb how they operate. Just really dumb. So, but the way they put you through that kind of shit, and you'll go through stages. They'll put you through that shit, and then they leave, and then you might lose the getting the phone bill paid every month and have to figure out how to pay it yourself, depending on your situation. You'll figure something out. You will figure something out. You will figure it out. And then as time goes by, you might fall into the trap that many of us have, where you say, damned if I ever count on anybody ever again. I'm going to fucking do everything myself, and anybody that wants to help me can go to hell, because I'm not going to fall for that shit again. And then you become like a rugged individualist, which works for a time, because you end up not wasting your time with anybody, which I understand. But then you get to a point where you get a little bit tired of it, and then you kind of sort of start asking for help here and there with little things, and that's okay to do. Don't hurt yourself by trying to be your own powerhouse 24/7, because like I say, that's another backlash we've had to deal with following up women's lib is having to do everything ourselves. They had such a bad reaction to it when we said we didn't want to be treated like property anymore. And they said, no, fine. You're not my property anymore. But I'll be goddamned if I ever help you again. And then we had to start doing everything. So that is already kind of, we're surrounded by that vibe to start with. Which is bizarre because at the same time we're told, well, if you just find the right man, so it's like things are real fucked up for us mentally because we're being told so many different things. But anyway, so that's, but the boundaries thing with these people, you just have to get to a point where you realize you don't have anything to lose. You don't really have anything to lose. This person cannot destroy your life. This person does not have the power to destroy your life. They make it look that way because that's what keeps them in power, is the way they make it look. Which is why when clown ass was like, stood in my bedroom at my family's home and pointed to the furniture, the old furniture from OfferUp, from that old woman's storage unit, 45 minutes away from where we lived. We went out like real late at night to go buy it and put it in the bedroom, and in my bedroom at my house. And he had the nerve to look at me and point to all that furniture. It was like 2 pieces of furniture and say, well, fine, but if I leave, I'm taking all this shit with me. And I said, okay. Do you know what I started doing? I started getting all my clothes and shit out of that dresser. It was one of those 1970s, like, long dressers like this with the back to it. And then, like, the shelves and shit and the cubbies going down, you know what I'm talking about? It was one of those. I opened every goddamn drawer one at a time and I started pulling all my shit out and hanging it up in my fucking closet. Because all my shit was in there anyway. It was my fucking bedroom. And he said, well, what are you doing? I said, you said if you go, you're taking all this shit with you. I'm getting you out of here, so I guess you're going to take this furniture with you to damn night. Because it was already after dark when we were doing this argument. It was probably 10 o'clock at fucking night. And I started getting my shit, out of the drawers. And I was like, shrug, fine. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, blah, 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 blah. He started like, changing his mind. I said, oh, no. Because I had gotten to a point where I didn't fucking care anymore. I didn't fucking care. At the time, money-wise, I was selling my jewelry. My jewelry was selling like fucking, like, I don't even know. It was just, I was doing it full time because I was selling so much shit. And I was doing consignment at 3 different shops. And my ass stayed busy with my damn beads. And so I had enough money to do what I wanted and to buy gas when I needed it and to buy food when I needed it and to pay my own damn phone bill. Because I never let him go that far with it, to be honest with you. I never let him start paying my phone bill. There was a time when he was laying on my bed after work. He came in and just like stretched out on my bed instead of going home to his wife that I didn't know he still had. And he grabbed at my phone. He just like real casually grabbed at my phone, just started going through it because God forbid. And I snatched it out of his hand, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, "You're not going through shit in this fucking phone until you start paying this phone bill, and not a moment sooner. And by the way, I'm not going to let you pay the bill either because I'm not giving you that kind of power." And he looked at me like I was from another goddamn planet. He looked at me like I had 3 heads. And he said, "Are you fucking serious?" And I said, "Fuck yes, I'm serious. I don't care if it's 7.5 inches. You're not touching this phone." There wasn't anything in the goddamn phone. There wasn't anything in there. But that's not the point. That's not the point. There wasn't anything in the fucking phone except fucking screenshots about witchy shit and whatever. And pictures of my beads and shit, because I was always uploading pictures to my jewelry business page at the time, my Facebook page. But that was it. That was it. There weren't any damn naked pictures of me or anyone else in there. So, but he looked at me like I was crazy because I told him that he wasn't going to be digging unless he was going to pay the phone bill, and I wasn't going to let him do that anyway. And I never did let him pay that phone bill because I thought, nah, because I already wasn't feeling good about him anyway the whole time. And I should have and could have cut that off a lot sooner. But I let it go, and I let it continue because I thought, well, this is it. And I also told myself that I wasn't going to have anybody better than that. And I was never going to find anybody that was more in line with my interests. And I wasn't going to find anybody that had the same kind of hobbies as me, or the same kind of interests, or the same kind of personality that I liked. I wasn't going to get anybody that cute again, whatever. I kept telling myself all this bullshit that didn't matter. It doesn't matter. Every time you tell yourself, well, I'm never going to build, you build a wall around yourself to block out the very shit you wish you had. So, when you tell yourself that the narcissist is as good as you're going to get, or that that's just how life is, that's what it's going to be. And that's what I did. And I betrayed myself in that way. And I swear to God, I'll never do it again. Lesson learned. Got my ass whooped with that one. Won't do it again, and that's just what it takes. But like I say, when it comes to standing up to these clowns, it's just a matter of realizing that you don't have anything to lose, because once they're gone, you're just going to rebuild anyway. All that does, when they leave, that just leaves a vacuum. It just leaves a void for you to put whatever you want to put in there. You got to go stay at a friend's house. You got to go stay at a women's shelter. You got to go stay at a homeless shelter or whatever. So, everyone starts somewhere. And just because you're saying, and if that's what you have to do, let's say it's, comes down to it, and you have to stay at a homeless shelter for a few weeks or something, that doesn't mean that you're trash. That doesn't like automatically render you a worthless human being. It just means you're in a transition phase. So what? And women are so ashamed of asking for help and having to end up in a certain spot, in a starting place somewhere, before they can start doing something different. And that's got to stop too, because if you won't let yourself take advantage of certain things that could help you along the way, I don't know. Because if it was me, if it was that bad, I would have said, fuck this, I'm going to the shelter. I'm just going to start over. Just going to start over. So what? I think while you live in those places, they make you go out and apply to jobs and shit. Obviously, you'd want to do that because you'd want your own money and therefore your own power and shit like that. So, but we're taught that if the man leaves, our life is just going to come crashing down. And that's not it. That's not it. That's how it is for them. Except it's the opposite, because they're taught that once the woman is out of their life, they're going to be happy and they're going to be free, and they can just do whatever they want, and they don't have to take care of anybody, and blah, blah. And then what really happens is their house starts to look like animals live there, and they don't have anybody to open up to emotionally, because they don't open up to their damn friends. I guarantee they don't open up to their damn friends, and I can prove it, because you can go and drill his friends and ask them shit, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know, man, I don't even know, I don't fucking know. They don't know shit about him because he doesn't open up to them, because they only open up to the woman in their life, not their fucking friends. Period. So once you go, it's their fucking life that comes apart at the seams, not yours. You've been taught differently, but that's not it. Watch and just see what happens. Just watch. Because I've watched it a million times. I've seen it a million times. And that is why I think it's real. That is why I think it's true. Because I've fucking seen it. I've done it. Every time I left somebody, I felt better afterwards. Felt better about everything afterwards. That's never changed. That's never changed. So I don't know. Just hit the reset button. You lose some money. The more money is printed every day. It's printed every fucking day. You'll get more. You'll get more. It's out there. The money is out there. But you got to tell yourself that you deserve it and that you can get it in whatever way it wants to come to you. You got to be available to that. Any kind of opportunity that might come your way, be open to that shit. Go with that flow. So, yeah, the narcissist and stand up to him, it just requires getting to a point where you realize you really don't have anything to lose. You just don't. And then once you get on the other side of that, you're like, oh, I'm fine now. I can do it now. I can do whatever I want, Yeah. Because those people, I don't know. They just, I mean, they're coping. Them being a narcissist is them coping with whatever went wrong for them in their childhood. Like, I get it, but um, they just go so extreme with it. So you don't have to do that because you're normal and you're just learning. They may or may not ever learn. So, I mean, fuck them. But uh, the stuff we've been taught through our childhood about doing what men want and giving people what they want, no matter how violated you feel, that has to go away. That has to stop. And they're going to get pissed the fuck off when you start putting your foot down. They get pissed off. And because they can't even understand or control themselves, so they just try to control you. And there's such a backlash whenever women say, I don't want to be shit on and pissed on anymore. I'm a human being. If I want to say no, I'm going to say no. And then it's like, there's always a real bad reaction to that. But hashtag sorry, not sorry. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. But we're taught that it's bitchy of us to say no to something. And that's that I don't care. I'm a bitch, fine. People are so afraid of being called certain names, certain words. Oh, you don't want him to think you're a bitch. You don't want him to think you're heartless. You know what? I should get heartless tattooed across my chest. Fuck it. I'm heartless. So be it. I gotta move on with my life. Fuck it. In a week it'll be like it never happened. Won't matter. Just like say no and move on. It's your life. It's your life. And you do not need to, quote, find the right man in order for your life to fall into place the way it's supposed to. That's what you've been told, but that's not necessarily true. You could also be told that you're blonde all your life and really your hair is brown, but if you are brainwashed well enough, it's not going to matter what color it is. You're still going to think it's blonde. It's dumb. It's just stupid. That plus the damn Disney movies and everything, and especially with Disney movies, because girls were shown how girls that didn't do well in some way or another, like Snow White, being done wrong by the evil queen, and who was the girl that lived out in the woods and was singing to the birds and shit, and lived with the 3 fairy ladies. She lived out in the middle of nowhere, and she was really a princess or some shit, and didn't know it or whatever, and blah blah blah. All those stories. And then Ariel had her voice taken away, couldn't sing anymore, couldn't do her favorite thing anymore, so she was done wrong or whatever, fucking blah blah. She really just didn't read the contract. But anyway, all those stories about women who were like, supposedly on the bottom, and then the man swoops in and just like, fixes everything. Just marries him and that fixes everything. And that's bullshit. But that's what we're shown. That's what that's what everybody saw in 1990, and now look at us. Like so, I mean, don't listen to it. Just don't listen to it. Your life can be whatever you want, but don't ever let yourself think that you're limited to one son of a bitch, and that everything's going to count on whether that person, everything's going to count on that person, and then if they pull out, you're screwed. Don't, it's not like that. Invest if you want to invest, but don't let yourself think that once that's over, or if it ever goes awry, that you're just gonna, your life's never gonna be the same. It's just, that's bullshit. So it's okay to put your foot down, because whatever changes after that is gonna be in your favor. Eventually, once it all plays out, you're gonna see it was in your favor because you put your foot down and you stood your ground like a human fucking being. And that is going to set into motion things trying to work in your favor, because you gave the universe or the world or whatever permission to start working for you, because you took charge, you took initiative, you took control, and just said no. I could go on all day about this, but I've already been going on for like an hour, so I don't want to make it too long, but that's just, um, that's just some of my ideas about, shit I've done and the things I've experienced with it and the lessons I've learned. I could go on the rest of the day about the hard lessons I've learned, but I don't want to keep you that long. But anyway, so that's it for, I guess, for the boundaries. I can always do like another video about it too, like go into more detail and shit. That's always I can always do that. But I asked a couple of questions in my Facebook group about like what topics y'all want to see, and I'm trying to cover all that. So, but anyway, so that's my thing about boundaries. You just have to not be afraid of what you think you're going to lose if you put your foot down. Because, women are taught that if they stand up to somebody, their whole life and their whole world is just going to be turned upside down, and it'll never be the same. Good. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of change. And don't be afraid of somebody backing out. If he leaves, fine. Good. Bye. Boy, bye. Let him go. Let that void be created so that something else can fill it. And you can fill it with whatever the fuck you want. If you want to fill it with yourself and just focus on you and focus on worshiping yourself for a little while, do it. So I guess I'll leave it at that. An hour and 16 minutes, that's long enough. But I hope that I covered some good topics and some good ideas for y'all, because I I really speak from the heart when I do these smart ass lives. So I hope that clarified some things for you, but mainly, I don't want you to be afraid of what lies on the other side of just taking a stand for yourself. Everybody has their own way of doing that, and everybody has their own version of that and their own story about that. And you have yours, and whatever that may be. But don't be afraid of it, because you're going to survive, and you're going to live through it, and you're going to get through it, and you're going to come out the other side, and you're just going to rebuild and start having the life you want to have, because you've learned about self-respect, which in turn will lead to self-love. It will. And then once you get to even just with the baby steps with the self-respect shit, that's going to change your whole world. Because you're going to be like, you know what? I don't feel like doing that. I don't have to. And that can be anything. You can go to your manager and say, well, I don't want to, I'm only able to work such and such hours, because something, tell them you're taking a class or something like that, and you can only work so-and-so hours or whatever. And they can say yes or no. If they say no, you can get another job. There's all kinds of options. You be open to whatever is out there to replace what you're dealing with. Just be open to any possibility. And once you see that the possibilities in this big whole wide world are absolutely endless for you, then there's not going to be any fear of what you might lose just because you set a boundary. You set one. You look at how well, not just the narcissist, but I mean men in general. Look how they do. There's not a man within 100 miles that does shit he doesn't want to do. If they don't want to do something, God damn it, they say no, and they'll just turn their back and walk away. You can watch them do it all the time. If they don't want to do something, it's no, and there is no forcing them. There is no making them do it. So, and they live barely, but they live. Like they got 2 baskets of laundry that haven't been washed in 3 weeks, but they live. But I mean, if they can get by with it, you can. But they've never been taught to be what everybody else wants, and they're never taught to betray themselves. So that's why they don't have that problem. But anyway, and like I say, I don't hate men. I do not hate men. But there's some shit that we can't ignore, and there's shit that you just have to pay attention to that's just there no matter what, whether he's a narcissist or not. But anyway, I can't start getting into that. We'll be here all day. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope that some shit I said helped out and brought some clarity. And we can, go deeper into this topic if you want to later on with the boundaries and shit. But like I say, everything you want, anything you can imagine having is on the other side of fear. But you just have to push. You got to ask yourself, are you worth it? Am I worth push myself through this fear to get to the other side of it so I can have what I want? Am I worth the test? Am I worth the test? And the answer is yes or no. There's no gray area with this. I don't do gray areas. I'm Taurus. It's fucking yes or it's no. So, that's just how I operate. But people hate us. People can't stand Tauruses because we don't fuck around. It's this or it's this. We don't fucking dilly dally. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. This video is long enough, so I hope that helped, and I hope that gave you some good ideas and gave you some courage for whatever you're going through. And as usual, if if you need my help or anything like that, please reach out. Y'all know where to find me. I'll always make time for you, and we'll figure it out. And I don't charge for conversations and shit. If we're just talking in Messenger or whatever, we're just talking. So don't worry about shit like that. But yeah, y'all know where to find me, and that's it. Yeah. And then if they challenge you, just say when. Say when. Or at least tell them, you're the huckleberry. I'm your huckleberry, because I am your goddamn huckleberry. I don't fuck around. I do not. I do not fuck about at all. So, but anyway, yeah, don't let anybody fucking push you around. Fuck them. This is your life. This is your life, not theirs. That you're not like an extra in some movie about their life. That's not how this works. So just keep that in mind and start putting yourself first and start having some self-respect and doing some actions every day that demonstrate self-respect and self-reverence. And you will start to program yourself to put yourself first. And then before you know it, you'll be saying no to all kinds of bullshit you don't want to do. And you can cut out so much. And even the things you don't want to do that you have to do, you start to learn how to change your mindset around that as well. That's later on, but I mean, I can do a thing on that too if you want. But yeah, the boundaries thing, that's valuable. That's so valuable. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks for listening. It's been almost an hour and a half, I know. But thank you for sticking with me and just doing this with me and hanging out with me for a little bit. And like I say, y'all know where to find me. So thanks a lot.